Good morning, students. So we are learning chapter number 6, that is classification of plants. Okay. So in the first two lectures of this particular chapter, we have seen the introduction of classification of plants. Okay. We have studied about the five kingdoms. Okay. Now in this particular lecture, as we have studied the cryptogams in the last lecture, now in this lecture we are going to see the phanerogams, which is another group in the kingdom Plantae. Okay, so we are going to study about this particular point today. Okay, so what is phanerogam? We will say it. Plants which have spatial structures for reproduction. Okay, so the plants which have a spatial structure for reproduction and produce seeds are called as phanerogams. So ऐसे plants जिनके पास रिप्रोडक्शन के लिए स्पेशल ऑर्गन्स होते हैं और जिनमें सीड्स होता है, क्या होता है, सीड्स. ओके, सो ऐसे प्लांट को हम क्या बोलेंगे, phanerogams बोलेंगे. Now, in these plants, after the process of reproduction, seeds are formed which contain the embryo and store food. So, after the reproduction process is completed, a seed is formed in that particular plant, okay, which contains an embryo and the food is stored in them. Okay, so during germination of the seed, the stored food is used for the initial growth of the embryo. So whenever the seed is going to germinate, that is, it is going to produce or grow, at that particular time, the food which is stored is used by the embryo as a form of nutrition. Okay, depending upon whether seeds are enclosed in a fruit or not, phanerogams are classified into gymnosperms and angiosperms. So if the food is there inside the if the seed is there inside the fruit, okay, if seed is present inside the fruit, then that particular phanerogram, okay, that particular plant is classified under gymnosperms. Okay, and if the seed is outside the fruit, then that particular plant will belong to angiosperms. Okay, so we are going to study these two divisions, that is gymnospermae and the angiospermae, in today's lecture. Now you can see some pictures over here. This is the picture of cycas, and this is the picture, another picture. Okay, so you can see, observe all garden plants like cycas, Christmas tree, hibiscus, lily, etc., and compare them. Note the similarities and differences among them. Which differences do you notice between the gymnospermae and angiosperms? Okay, so whenever we are going to observe any plant, we can divide them in two divisions, that is gymnosperm and angiosperm, by verifying whether those plants have a flower or not, and if the flower is present, okay, and if there is a presence of fruit. So what is the position of the seed, whether it is inside the fruit or whether it is outside the fruit. By taking such observations, we can divide them in these two divisions, that is gymnosperm and angiosperms. Okay, now gymnosperms are mostly evergreen. Okay, so gymnosperms are mostly evergreen, perennial, and woody. Okay, the leaves, their stems are without branches. The leaves form a crown. These plants bear male and female flowers on different sporophylls of the same plant. Seeds of this plant do not have natural coverings, that is, these plants do not form fruits and are therefore called gymnosperms, that is, naked sperms or naked seeds. Okay, so what is the characteristic of the plant which are classified under gymnosperms? They are evergreen, okay, perennial and woody. Okay, so they are woody and perennial. perennial मतलब क्या, पूरे साल वो टिकते हैं, ओके, मुरझाते नहीं हैं, और एवरग्रीन भी हो सकते हैं। उनके स्टेम्स जो होते हैं उसमें ब्रांचेस आपको दिखने नहीं मिलेंगे, देयर आर नो ब्रांचेस इन सच प्लांट। ओके, एग्जांपल्स उनके दिए हुए साइकस, पिकिया, ओके, थूजा, पाइनस। सो जितने भी प्लांट्स हैं इनमें आपको ब्रांचेस नहीं दिखने मिलेंगे। ओके, जो लीव्स हैं इनके वो एज अ फॉर्म ऑफ क्राउन, क्राउन मतलब मुकुट कैसा होता है वैसा फॉर्म हुआ हुआ रहता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू कैन सी इन साइकस दिस पर्टिकुलर leaves which is there in this plant, it is in the form of crown. Okay, these plants bear male and female flowers on different sporophylls of the same plant. That means there is male flower and female flower both in this plant, but those are present on different stems, that is different sporophylls. Okay, now, seeds of these plants do not have natural coverings. So that means the seeds are not covered inside a fruit. Okay, in this plant, the seeds are not covered inside a fruit. And in fact, the fruit is absent in such plants. Okay, fruits are absent in such plants in many cases. So therefore, they are called as gymnosperms. Now, what is gymnosperms? It is nothing but naked seeds. Okay, so gymnos means naked and sperms means seeds. So this plant have seeds which is not covered by fruit. Okay, examples are the cycas, picia, Christmas tree, that is Christmas tree. Okay, thuja, moorpanki, pinus, and dev. The pinus means devdar. Okay, so this is about gymnosperm. Now I will see the another division, that is angiosperms. So the flowers these plants bear are their reproductive organs. Flowers develop into fruits and seeds are formed within fruits. Thus these seeds are covered, hence they are called angiosperms. Now एंजियोस्पर्म्स में जो प्लांट्स को डिवाइड किया गया है उनमें भी आपको फ्लावर्स देखने मिलेंगे, और वो फ्लावर्स क्या है, उस पर्टिकुलर प्लांट के रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन्स है। ओके, जो फ्लावर्स है उसमें फ्रूट डेवलप होता है, ओके, और सीड भी होता है उस पर्टिकुलर प्लांट में। लेकिन अनलाइक जिम्नोस्पर्म्स, the seeds present in angiosperms are covered inside a fruit. Okay, fruit के अंदर सीड होते हैं। Okay, thus these seeds are covered. सीड्स कवर्ड है इसलिए इन्हें क्या कहा जाता है, एंजियोस्पर्म्स कहा जाता है। एंजियोस मीन्स कवर एंड स्पर्म्स मीन्स सीड्स। ओके, नाउ the plants whose seeds can be divided into two equal halves or dicotyledons are called dicotyledonous plants, and those whose seeds cannot be divided into two equal parts are called monocotyledonous plants. Okay, so अगर किसी प्लांट के सीड को हम दो बराबर हिस्सों में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं तो उस प्लांट को हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे, डाइकोटिलेडोनस प्लांट्स। Okay, and if the set cannot be divided into equal parts, then that particular set is called as, that particular plant is called as monocotyledonous plants. Okay, so here the difference between the two is given, the difference between dicotyledonous plants and monocotyledonous plants. Okay, so obviously di means two, so the seed is going to be divided into two cotyledons. Okay, and in monocotyledonous, the seed is not going to be divided into two equal cotyledons, so it is single cotyledon. Okay, then the root is well developed, and the type of root is primary root. For example, taproot. Okay, whereas the monocotyledonous plants have fibrous roots. Okay, the stem of dicotyledonous plant is strong, hard. Okay, example is given as banyan tree. You can see a banyan tree which is very big. Okay, the stem of that particular plant is very strong. You cannot break it easily by applying a force. You have to use certain instrument to tether that plant. Okay, so strong and hard. Okay, the stems are strong and hard in dicotyledonous plants, whereas in monocotyledonous you can find hollow stems, a false stem, and even a disc-like stem. Okay, the example is given here. Bamboo is there for hollow, for false stem banana, and for disc-like onion is an example. Then leaf of dicotyledonous plants is reticulate venation. Okay, so you can see the leaf over here. Okay, so there are veins, and these veins are reticulate in nature. Whereas in monocotyledonous plants, you can find the parallel venation. So you may have observed the leaf of a banana tree. Okay, बनाना के पेड़ का आप लोगों ने पत्ता देखे रहेंगे, उसमें जो विनेशंस होते हैं वो कैसे होते हैं, पैरेलल होते हैं एक दूसरे से। बारीक जो लाइंस गई हुई रहती है वो क्या होती है, एक दूसरे से पैरेलल होती है, इस टाइप में होती है। ओके, लेकिन डाइकोटिलेडोनस प्लांट में जो लीव्स होते हैं उनमें आपको पैरेलल वेरिएशन नहीं देखने मिलता। उनमें क्या आपको देखने मिलता है कि सपोज ये लीफ है। ओके, सो इसमें जो वेरिएशन होंगे वो रेटिकुलेट है इस तरीके से। ओके, आप लोग ये इस पर्टिकुलर इमेज में देख सकते हैं जो वेरिएशन है वो किस तरीके से हुआ है। ओके, द फ्लावर with 4 or 5 parts or in their multiples, tetramerous और pentamerous. So जो फ्लावर्स होते हैं डाइकोटिलेडोनस प्लांट्स के वो क्या होते हैं, टेट्रामरस मतलब 4 पार्ट होंगे सेम प्रोपोर्शन में, या फिर पेंटामरस होंगे। ओके, या फिर 5 पार्ट्स होंगे। whereas in monocotyledonous the flowers have 3 parts or in multiples of 3. Okay, so मोनोकॉटिलेडोनस में आपको ट्राइमरस फ्लावर देखने मिलेंगे, और डाइकोटिलेडोनस में आपको टेट्रामरस या फिर पेंटामरस। ओके, so this is the difference between these two types, dicotyledonous plants and monocotyledonous plants. Now in this particular lesson, the chapter, we have seen the complete classification of kingdom planting. Okay, we have just studied the classification. Okay, now, this particular branch of science, that is botany, is very vast. Okay, and there are a lot of things to study. So, this is just an introduction to the plant science. Okay, the study of plants. Okay, it is very vast. So, in this lesson, we have to remember this particular divisions. Okay, and this particular tree diagram is very much important. So, by this lecture, our chapter number 6, okay, that is classification of plant, has been completed. Your homework is going to be, you have to solve this particular exercise. Okay, so I'll meet in the next lecture with a new chapter. Thank you.